Scholar Podcast.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm trying to
guy.
get the rundown. All right, here's the rundown, right? We'll
the
start
rundown.
off. Pistons are 2-8 with wins over the Celtics and Suns. The Raptors are 2-8. The Nets lost to the Wizards with KD and Kyrie, then beat the Sixers without either of them, then lost to the Grizzlies without them, despite Karis LeVert scoring 43 points, then lost to the Thunder with KD in a Josh Mails patented revenge game for KD. The Knicks have beaten the Bucks, Pacers, Hawks, and Jazz. The Magic are 6-5 with basically last season's roster plus Cole Anthony. The Suns are 7-4 without any of their players playing well and losses to the Pistons and Wizards. The Hawks are 4-1, were 4-1, then lost 4 straight, then beat the Sixers. The Thunder are 5-4. The Timberwolves won their first 2 games, then lost 7 straight, then won 1. The Nuggets are 500 despite Jokic averaging a triple-double. The Wizards are 3-8 despite Beal averaging over 30 points and Westbrook averaging a triple-double, and 2 of their 3 wins are without Westbrook. Then the Sixers started 7-1 but have now fallen to 7-4, possibly 7-5 depending on how this Heat game goes. And to wrap it all up, the Hornets and Thunder are currently in the playoffs. Brian Diaz makes sense of this season so far.
You know what? So far, I think the Hornets, since there's not going to be All-Star Weekend this year, I think that there should be this thing in Charlotte where the Hornets just have a dunk contest with everyone on the team, and the only guy that rates the dunks is their announcer. And I think it'd be more entertaining than any dunk contest we've ever seen, because the Hornets have a poster dunk every single night.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird season, you know? Everyone that you, you were sold on to be bad, isn't playing bad. I know you guys weren't totally sold on Cleveland being bad, but
That's actually not me. Who the fuck was that?
Wow. So I think
This is the most uncomfortable I've ever been in my entire life.
It was the Hornets announcer that Brian was talking about. It took me a second to get it up because...
Took you a second to get it up, huh?
Yeah, it took me a second to get it up because of the ads, okay? Sorry.
Did you say Jeremy Lin?
No, Jeremy Lamb.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense.
I think you look at Cleveland and they are they have a duo now that no one would have picked out at the beginning of the year in Sexland with Darius Garland and Colin Sexton, and they're nasty, but dealing with injuries at the beginning of the season. Same thing with Kevin Love, but they're still both playing well. The team is playing well. You look at Detroit and Jeremy Grant is playing out of his mind. But then you go over to the West and Minnesota, for example, they're struggling greatly. And Cat's dealt with injuries and all the other stuff he's dealing with right now. But they still don't look like, even if he was there, they'd be doing much better. It just, for me, it's everything that you picked at the beginning of the season gets thrown out the window because of what's going on with COVID right now, but also just how weird everyone's had different times off from playing basketball from March to now. You know what I mean? So I think they need time to get back into a normal routine, and it's not going to happen. It wasn't going to happen in this first month of the season. I don't think it's going to happen for a little bit for normalcy to be to return to the NBA. I think you see it in a lot of sports, especially soccer right now. In England, every week there's a major upset, or even sometimes you're seeing the best teams in the world lose to the last place teams in their league, and from a week to week basis, there's nothing there's more upsets now than ever. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
Thanks.
And Scotty, you're invested in the Hornets in our Stock Talk game, and you have to be happy what you've seen from the squad so far. No?
Yeah. You know, I check the NBA app every now and then. Yeah, regarding how well are they doing, I haven't looked at the stock spreadsheet.
Perfect.
How big is has my investment paid off?
Well, they are 6-5 right now, so that is a lot more than they were expected. So right now,
Yeah.
if you sold them right now, you make about
Well, to
$6.5
be honest,
profit.
I only think they could get better, honestly. I mean, they've had a good start, but LaMelo's ceiling is climbing as each week, and Hayward seems to be coming into his own. I think they'll only figure it out how to play together with those three guards and everything as the season goes on. So yeah, I love that investment. I wasn't excited about it when I initially picked it. I think, to be honest, I think they were my last pick, and I had like 20. It's like probably like 23 or 24 and a half games left to spend, and I was deciding between them and the Knicks, and I just chose the Hornets.
Knicks wouldn't have been a
and
bad
it's-
pick either.
Yeah, it's really working out.
Well, it's a good segue into one of the first segments I had planned, which is Real Deal or Get Real. Looking at some of these teams, obviously some off to hot starts. We'll get into some of the ones that aren't off to as hot starts later. But definitely, we're looking at Hornets. Do we think this is a playoff team?
Get real.
Brian's saying get real. Anyone
I'm
taking
not-
Real Deal?
No, I'm not confident in
I'm
that.
I'm taking real deal.
Ooh.
I
Joshua.
think that they haven't had any significant win, really. But I will say that, just like Scott said, that LaMelo, he's growing. I think that they have a chance. Okay, now by real deal, I obviously don't mean contender.
Right.
I mean like 8-seed contender, 7-seed contender. I think that they could potentially make the playoffs. Gordon's playing great. Gordon Hayward. They have people coming off the bench, which is like something that you like need.
Absolutely.
And I think that it makes LaMelo coming off the bench looks like it's actually like working out a lot better than I was expecting. I was expecting him to be getting like, after like the first 3 games of the season, I was expecting him to get like 20 minutes a game off the bench, just like doing like nothing really.
Mm-hmm.
But he's proven that like he actually has the skill set, and maybe that's because he was playing professionally for the past few years. Maybe that's because he had to get a little comfortable, and he's really just is like that good. And I mean, I think he's looked great. Gordon Hayward's obviously looked great. I just said that. And then like they're like supporting people. Like Devontae is good. Terry's playing well. They don't even have Cody Zeller, and he's like not great obviously, but solid. So Bismack, Bridges, they just have like a lot of players. PJ Washington, like they just have like a lot of like good supporting. Obviously, they're not going to be able to like really do anything in the playoffs if they were to even make it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's teams that are behind them that shouldn't be, that are probably going to make the playoffs, like the Raptors and the Nets. But there's also, I mean, that we've talked about it for like in a few of these podcasts now, where like the 8 seed is like up for grabs.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think that the Hornets definitely like could contend for that at least.
Yeah. And I'll throw out another team that we've seen looking good is the Orlando Magic, who also got off to hot start. Couple losses here now. They lost Markelle. Cole Anthony hasn't exactly filled that void yet, but Vucevic has looked good. Aaron Gordon's looked good. What are their chances of hitting that 8 seed?
Low.
See,
I
at the
can't
be-
see them.
at the
Sorry.
So, well, I mean, no, that's fine because I mean, I'm gonna say that I somewhat disagree with that because at the beginning of the season before, I mean, I didn't think they had a chance,
Right.
and like I just said, 8 seed is up for grabs. So, I think that Markel getting hurt is obviously an issue, but like they're 6-5 right now with Evan Fournier's only played like 2 games, and he's obviously a huge part of their offense.
Right.
Aaron Gordon minute restriction just got lifted, or just got he's being allowed to play a little bit more now, and he's obviously once again solid player. And then they still have Vucevic, who can shown he can be an all-star. They still have like the players around them. Cole Anthony's not getting it done, so they have to figure out something when it comes to point guard.
Dwayne Bacon's been a nice addition. I think Brian pointed that out when we were just like previewing him too.
Mm-hmm. Dwayne, yeah, he actually has been pretty good.
James
Needed
Ennis.
actually, he's been like needed because of how Fournier's been out.
Have
like
you
that.
seen what Dwayne Bacon looks like? Just sidebar.
Yeah.
Probably
He has
just like
crazy eyebrows, my dude.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick look.
They are
Huge.
they are some thick.
Those are some
eyebrows.
caterpillars. But he's
really fly though.
yeah, no, he's good. Let's
Got a lot
crawl
of
up the
style.
west a little bit more. Look at the Pacers. Real deal or get real?
Real deal.
I think we can all agree, right?
Like how real deal? How real is the deal though?
Exactly.
I mean, Brogdon is really good, and he's showing it now. I mean, he's legit. What?
Just Josh is massively typing. His hardcore typing.
Oh,
That wasn't
sorry.
me. Sorry.
Sabonis is like just Sabonis is playing out of his mind right now. As of right now, obviously early on in the season, MVP candidate. I think Miles Turner's starting to show like some potential. Like he's fulfilling his potential. He's blocking shots. He's grabbing rebounds. I think that this is a really dope team.
I
think-
agree.
Yeah.
I think that I will say. I mean, the whole point of this segment
Mm-hmm.
is for us to predict. So it's like when it comes to predicting, I feel like you have to say get real. I mean, sorry, real deal. You have to say real deal.
Get
But I will
real,
say-
Pacers.
I will say that Malcolm Brogdon got off to a super hot start last season
Mhm.
and then fell off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That also has to do with people coming back from injury, and like that's the same thing. I mean, Jeremy Lamb's out, T.J. Warren's out. Like, obviously, we talk about usage a lot on this podcast, so it's like that's going to really, really up the usage of their like 3. I guess you can say 4 with Miles Turner, even though he's not really used offensively that much. But it's obviously going to raise like the usage of those 4 players.
Right.
So it's like, will they continue this? I mean, they're 6-4, so like I would assume that they're gonna stay on this kind of track. Probably end up like 10 games above 500.
Sure.
I think that they are deep, like one of the deepest teams in the league, actually. But it's just like strange to me. Maybe it's coaching. I don't know. They're just
Yeah.
like not. And I will say I also think that Victor Oladipo has regressed like a lot over the past like 2 seasons because of injury.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's shown some light this season, though.
I think he
feel
hasn't
like
looked as
they
bad
just
as he was in the bubble.
Yeah, I think they just have a lot of
Definitely not,
mouths to
definitely
feed
not, yeah.
right now.
Well, and here's my thing with them is like, who do they go to in a close game? Because mostly a 7-game series is going to come, at least 2 to 3 of those games are going to come close. Like, who do you trust with the ball in their hands? I mean, we saw they lost a close one to the Kings last night.
I like Sabonis. I think especially it depends on like the score, but if you're going for 2, I think I like Sabonis. I mean, if you're looking for I don't know. I think you can trust a few of those guys. I think Oladipo has hit some clutch shots. I think Brogdon has the potential to drive in. His game is like super simplistic, but like it gets the job done obviously and exceeds that. I think he can get you a basket when you need it. I think you have a lot of options.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe because there's not one clear favorite, that could
Right.
cause some discrepancies.
Gotcha. I'll skip over. I think we can all agree Celtics Bucks are probably real deal. But at the
Yeah.
top now, 76ers just beat the Heat in OT.
Oh,
Undermanned. So now they're 8-4. How do we like the Sixer team?
Wait, undermanned how without Simmons?
Well, just without their bench, basically. Like they had Simmons and Embiid, but
Simmons fouled out like really quick.
yeah. So they only played 8 guys.
Damn.
But I mean, it was
Well,
an
no,
undermanned
they-
Heat team too.
Yeah, I
so
was
like they didn't
gonna
have
say.
Jimmy or Bam, but they're 8-4. Either way,
But Duncan and the Hero both went off, right?
yeah.
I think the Phillies exceeding expectations for like most people, but maybe that's just the coaching change bringing in Doc. I hope they're not the real deal. I hope this is a get real situation, but I think that they could they'll probably stay in that the top 4 seeds of the East as time goes on.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this could this time with Ben Simmons out and Tobias and all these players out is like huge for Tyrese Maxey, and it's obviously not as extreme as like Gordon Hayward getting injured 3 years ago, and then Jason Tatum filling his spot and becoming like that great player that we knew that season he was going to be good
Mm-hmm.
from then on. This is obviously way more minor, but because it's only 3 or 4 games. But Tyrese Maxey has looked fantastic. I think that this is gonna these 3 or 4 games without Simmons and Seth Curry and Tobias are going to put him permanently in the rotation, even though he was already in the rotation. But now it's going to but he was only playing what I'm gonna look right now 15 minutes a game.
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
he was playing 20 minutes, 17 minutes, 10 minutes, random minutes, I guess, depending on garbage time or whatnot. Now he's playing obviously a ton, but I think that this will permanently enter him into that 22 minute, 24 minute, and I mean that he's a great player to be coming off the bench. We've seen it. He's been very good. Obviously, he's been playing for 38, 43, 45 minutes, whatever it is. That's a ton of time, and you're gonna go off when you're playing that much
Mhm.
time, unless you're
Guys,
Isaac Okoro.
guys, I'm gonna have to put DeMarcus Cousins on ejection watch. He just got a technical.
Oh boy.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
That's me and
what-
Scott's ejection leader, so
Yeah.
he's taking an early lead.
What is wrong with him?
He's a hothead, you know? I had Knicks and Cavs on my Real Deal or Get Real list. I'll admit it was earlier in the season. They're now 5-6 each, and I don't know. I think Cavs just made it 5-7. I'm gonna say they're both Get Real for now. But,
I'm going to say that we have to say that they're get real, but the Cavs are not. No, Cavs are not doing anything.
who do you like better, Knicks or Cavs?
Knicks. Julius
Knicks.
Randle,
Yeah, probably
one of
Knicks.
the best players.
Is Julian Randle Real Deal or Get Real?
That's a
Julius
great
Randle.
question.
Well, the
He's
thing
real
about
deal.
Julius Randle is
Real deal.
I will say that he's dominating right now, but he's been doing his stats are obviously up assists specifically,
Mhm.
but he's done this now for two years in a row. Last year he averaged 19, 9, and 3. The season before he averaged 21, 9, and 3. He's been doing this, and people just realize it now, maybe because they've won a few games. And I will also say, Obi's been out all season except the first
Right.
game, so that's going to help out the power forwards, Julius Randle, and other players on that team, RJ.
Mitchell
But
Robinson.
yeah,
So let
RJ's
me-
on fire.
If you're maybe a borderline contender or bottom half of the playoffs, are you looking to trade for a guy like Julius Randle? Because I feel can he
Yes.
be a second, third option?
I think he could be a really cool option for most teams. I
Yeah.
think he can. It's not like he struggles in any part of his offensive game. I think defensively is where you might get hurt.
Mhm.
but offensively, he's a stud.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, if he's a second option, then he'll obviously not be doing
think
the
he'll
same stuff statistically. He
yeah.
won't be getting 22, 7, and
No.
11, but he will. Even if
He'll
he's like a
flourish.
third option, he'll still get you those points. He shoots 50% from the field. Like he gets the rebounds. He's a similar player, honestly, to Sabonis.
Very much so, yeah.
Not
Rest in peace to
defensive,
Chadwick Boseman.
but like just like a big like
What?
force. And
I
I think
agree.
that's like something that any team would want. Obviously not like the Lakers or the Pelicans because they
Well,
let him go.
true.
But
One of
I
the
think that
few
he'd be a good
shining
addition.
lights in New York.
yep.
Also known as Jay Randy.
Actually,
Jay Randy.
According
Sorry.
to Josh.
Well, actually, according to Basketball Reference, his one and only nickname is Beyblade.
Whew. Lucas is
Oh,
right.
that's
Bro,
really
I love
fucking
that.
tough.
I don't understand that, but I didn't know I could like Julius Randle more until I just heard that.
he's awesome.
But stay tuned. I got some sick hypothetical trades, and one might involve Jay Randy. We'll see. Stay tuned for that. Let's move out west with Real Deal or Get Real. Starting
Real deal.
with
What do you
Unsung
got?
Heroes Oklahoma City Thunder.
Okay, get real.
Now, okay.
Get real.
Real deal being a relative term, meaning like, could they be 500? Which they're above 500 right now.
No. If,
Okay.
If COVID starts to get figured out in the league, I mean, like, obviously they're beating teams, but they're beating teams that are like undermanned.
Are they?
I mean, obviously the Nets had KD, but they're lacking Kyrie. That's not a full strength team. You know what I mean? Like that with a full team, the Nets are gonna beat them. You know.
Yeah.
Same thing with like the Knicks. It's a closer matchup.
Yeah, but I will say that like I know. So I agree with you with like the Nets, but at the same time, like the Nets should
No,
still beat
even
them.
if
The Nets
Kyrie
should
like
beat them.
doesn't exist.
Because one of the things that people say about the Nets, and including myself, is how deep they are. Obviously, they lost Spencer Dinwiddie. Kyrie's not playing, but like other than that, they have everyone else. Correct, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
day they did.
So it's like they should be winning that game like easily.
No, I
They
agree,
should.
but
Yeah. I mean, I know what you're saying.
Who
I mean,
played well for the Thunder in that game?
I believe Al played well. Horford.
Really?
Yeah.
Shy, I
Obviously
think, had a good
yeah,
game.
and
Shy's obviously having a
and
great
Hamidou
season.
Diallo.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they had, yeah. I know what you mean, Brian, but
It's
at
just-
the same
it's
time,
like-
they should. That's on. There's no excuse for that kind of loss. To
I
the
think
Thunder.
if you look at Thunder Hornets again, like the first game of the season for them each team, I think now the Hornets are on fire. If they played it again now, I think it'd be a totally different result. Obviously, Jazz Thunder was a very close game. Like I said, everyone's trying to figure out, trying to get back to, being them. So many teams have had so long off, more time than they've ever had in their lives from playing basketball competitively. I think it'll take time for a lot of these teams to figure it out. So teams like the Thunder will benefit, and obviously they don't have the same exact team as last year, but a lot of those guys that are there still know what it is to be the underdog and know how to persevere through being looked upon as such a bad team. You know what I mean? So I think it helps them, but at the same time, I think this is a get real team for sure because they're one losing streak away from falling.
Fair. I think it's just incredible. When you think about, they lost Chris Paul and Steven Adams, probably their two oldest players, leaders, starters. When you lose all that production, still manage. I mean, at the end of the day, they've won 5 games
Yeah.
in the NBA, which is kind of wild to me. When everyone thought
Yeah.
they'd probably be at 5 games in March.
Yeah, I mean,
But fair enough.
that boy Lugins is playing really well.
Yep.
Um,
Lou Dort, Darius Baisley.
yeah.
I mean, these are guys I don't know where they came from. I don't know how they got them. Their like
Yeah.
starting five is like Al Horford, George Hill, Shai, and like two like my player random name generator people.
Isaiah Roby, Mike Muscala.
Yeah, and it's I think it's cool, and you know you can never count them out. I mean they're competing at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Thought we'd at least talk about them. We probably won't talk about them. Actually, no, I do have some cool hypothetical trades involving them. So
Do we has Trevor Ariza played yet this year?
no, he has not.
Okay.
I don't know if he ever will. It's weird
I don't
how
know. Is he hurt or is he like?
I think he's
just-
hurt
Okay, I didn't know if he was just like sitting out.
because they should be tanking right now.
Yeah.
They're
They
not.
have all the picks, so they might as well just like win and
Right.
win and win and get the experience of like learning how to win.
Well, maybe you lose and get the experience, so their
But
pick
their
is like
picks,
sick.
I was gonna say their picks aren't gonna be good, right?
They
Well,
will eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
We'll
And
see
they
depending
can,
on.
and they can package those for big time trades with the amount
Right.
of picks they have. Like it's not gonna.
Yeah,
hurt
that's a good point.
Right. Okay, let's take a look. Golden State started off really shaky, kind of righted the course a little bit. They're sitting at 6-4 right now. They play the Pacers tonight. Is this a playoff team?
Well,
Yeah.
this is. I mean, I was talking to Brian the other day, and our good friend Jordan.
Shout outs.
Shout out.
Yeah. And this was like not like a week ago, like a week and a half ago even. I forget when, but I was saying that they, and honestly, Matt, maybe we even talked about it together. They lost the games
No
that
way.
they were supposed to lose. Now I will say. They
Oh,
got
that's what I said,
they
bro.
got- oh well, they got dominated.
They did.
Yeah. So I mean, at the same time, you lose the games you should lose, but like, you shouldn't lose by 26 to the Nets, and then 39 to the Bucks, and then barely beat the Bulls, but with a Damian Lee game winner. But then I think that a playoff team wins the games that they're supposed to win, and then a few extra. I mean, and then they beat the Clippers the other day, and they beat the Blazers the other day, like by 15. So it's like, I think that those are like impressive wins. They're now above 500. I feel like they got Draymond back.
They're
That's
starting
definitely going to
show
help
their
them.
true potential.
Yeah, I think that at the beginning of the season, it was just weird. Like, Kelly Oubre was just in a slump. He still kind of is, but he's getting a little bit better.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
And I think that it's Steph Curry. Like, he's still a top 5 player in the NBA.
He's
Dude.
still Steph Curry.
His 60 ball was like kind of proof that he's still got it. And I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon.
And the encouraging.
When they get Clay back next year, that could be a championship team again. But anyways.
Very well could be. I'll say like the encouraging thing to me too is like they beat the Raptors with Steph only scoring 11, which I feel like you know sometimes stars have off days, and if you can get a win out of that when they're not like firing on all cylinders, like that's a
For real.
huge boost, especially in a competitive Western Conference when you know you need to rack up as many wins as you can, especially if you're playing a slumping team like the Raptors. So I thought, you know, I'm with you. I think the Warriors are the real deal. If Kelly Oubre ever finds his stroke, that will be good for them.
Can we get an updated percentage on him?
Yeah, let's.
I'm on it.
All right, word. Wiggins, I feel like you know he'll chip in 20 points, kind of under the radar. I know he kind of has a bad rap, but you know he's doing his thing. James Wiseman, I think. You know he doesn't really play that much, but I think
He's getting
everyone
tips
likes.
from Draymond.
Mhm. I think Draymond will be a great mentor for him.
Yeah.
And I think Draymond made a big difference just from like an energy standpoint. And he's finally kind of showing up in the stat sheet now. I think this Warriors team, I don't know, like is this a team that wins a playoff series? Maybe if Steph goes off, but I think a lot of it will rely on him. And, you know, whether he's up for the challenge.
Bro, Oubre's shooting 13% from 3-point.
Holy Jesus. Yeah, he's going to have to make like 50 in a row to get that up to anything respectable.
Alright, to be fair, he's never been an amazing 3-point shooter.
It's crazy though, because he averaged like 20 a game last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
No, 18-7. Yeah. But his highest 3-point percentage has only ever been 30, 35. That was last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
13.
you know.
I know.
Let's go one other spot in the West. Look at the Phoenix Suns. Now, I mentioned that really, at least statistically speaking, none of their players are improving. It's weird. Devin Booker's not scoring like he usually does. Chris Paul, Ayton, and yet they're 7-4, one of the top teams in the West. What do we like about this team? What do we not like?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like going back to what Josh said about teams like winning the games they should win and losing the games they should lose. They're kind of, I don't know, they're weird because they win the games that you would think they shouldn't win.
Right.
Like you look at the game against the Jazz, you look at the game against the Raptors, you look at the game against the Nuggets, you look at the game against the Mavericks, Pacers even. But then they lose games against the Wizards, the Pistons, they lose one. They split with the Kings. It's really weird, but they, like you said, Booker isn't playing really well. Ayton looks awful right now. Chris Paul isn't playing spectacular, you know what I mean? But he's still playing well. Like, they're playing good enough. And I think this is a get-real team. I think they'll still, more and more, I think they'll make the playoffs, like, the more I look at it. But Booker's got to start scoring soon, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But other teams are going to, like, their guys are going to start scoring soon. So even as the Suns, if the Suns can improve from where they are now, like how they play, they're not going to get much better, like in the standings. I think a lot of other teams are going to start finding their groove too, but they came out to a pretty hot start. I think they were 6-1 to start the year, but I think this is a get-real team. I'm not too sold on them, staying in the top 5 of the West for too long.
You agree with that, Josh?
Yeah, for the most part.
So where do you see them falling? Like bottom 4 in the playoffs?
7 or 8.
Because we all had them at 9 initially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's so early.
Yeah. I mean, we're like, with 72 games now, they're 11 games, so about a seventh of the way through, a little less than that. I think it's an interesting kind of, once teams, you're right, Brian, once they get into a groove,
Yeah.
And I mean, Devin Booker's the kind of guy that can score like 35 plus a night if he gets hot. So we'll see if he can hit that point.
I mean, I thought, like, going into the season, I mean, putting them at 9, obviously, it's like, I obviously thought that they weren't going to make it. I mean, once again, like, I thought that it was going to be a tight race where, like, there's so many teams, and, like, it is early in the season, so we can't, like, see what's going to happen, because when there's so many teams that are so, like, close, it's too hard to predict, like, that far, I guess. But
Right.
Now the Grizzlies are out of it because they don't have Ja. In my opinion, they're out of it. I don't think they're going to be able to make it at this point. But then, like, teams like the Rockets, not great so
Right.
far, and they're probably not going to get any better. So, I mean, yeah, I think that they'll probably make it top 5,
Ooh.
top 6 maybe. I think they're definitely gonna make it. I don't know exactly where. I think they'll be better than, like, the 7 or 8 though. I do think that.
It might just end up being fodder for Lakers, Clippers. Yeah.
In my favorite swear words, it's more like shit and fuck.
Hello.
You just listened to another episode of the Baller Scholar Podcast.